Good morning, campers.
We've established it's morning, right?
It felt right. Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yes, I'm sure that somebody in chat is from morning right now. Chat. Yeah, everyone's
Somebody,
already
please
saying where you are. So if you're somewhere in the world that it is morning currently,
let
our
us know.
greeting was specifically for you.
There
It
you
was just for
go.
you.
And good afternoon to everybody else, and good evening to everybody else.
Yes. Good year, everyone.
Yes.
Good existence. Hello, hi, welcome to Adobe Office Hours. I'm Andrew Hochradel. This guy over here.
I am Nick Longo. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see everybody showing up, and chat's already going crazy. This is awesome.
Yeah. Last week, I just want to commend chat. Last week, if you were here,
Oof.
chat was on fire last week.
And we could never even look at it much. It was
That's
like I just
true.
saw it moving all the time,
That's
right?
true. Y'all were being real spicy. And this week, hopefully, we keep that up. This is Office Hours Summer Camp. We love your interactions. It is live, 100% live. And we are here reading the chat. So if you have questions, if you have suggestions, if you have anything, go ahead and put it in chat. And when I say chat, I mean a very specific chat. Nick, what
Which
chat are
one?
we talking about?
I would love it if they just left YouTube and came right over to the Behance page.
That's
'Cause
right.
That's where it's at.
Yeah,
Just
there is
ask
a
anybody.
YouTube chat, but like, who cares about that YouTube chat? Come over to Behance,
Yeah.
behance.net/live, and click through to the live stream, and you can check out the chat. Leave us a red heart to let us know that you are there. And friends in France, I'm not sure, Chloe, if that is an oi or if that is a oui. So we will pretend that it is a oui.
Yes.
French is so fun to say. All right, Nick. So today we have a lot to go through. Do you want to give the overview kind of the flow of today's episode? Because we've got a bunch of different segments.
The flow is going to be great. We're going to start off with Andrew talking a little bit about the history of typography and kind of its origins, where it came from, and kind of the anatomy of it as well, right? And then we're going to take it into choosing fonts and choosing the right ones for your branding, for your work, whatever you are doing. We're going to help you do that and share some great resources as well that we use all the time.
Yes. And Laura left us a red heart coming over from YouTube. Hi, Laura. Welcome to Behance.
Yes.
You are cooler than all of the people who are still on YouTube. All right. So let's go ahead and I want to show off something that's pretty important about this show. It's currently floating below us, but it's about to be floating beside us. And that is our Discord link. And I've shrunk down the window, so it looks terrible right now, but I want to make sure that you notice down here in Discord, you can go into our Discord channel. You can go to the summer camp channel and hang out with us, but you also can come down here where it says cabin chat, and you can hop into that voice chat and you can talk with people live as it's happening on the show. We'll probably hop in there later at the end of the show and say hello. We'll hop in right here, say hi to Elizabeth, who's in there. Hey, Elizabeth, would you like to invite our friends onto the voice channel?
Yeah, come join the voice chat. Hello.
There we go. So that was Elizabeth. She's hanging out in the voice chat. You can go join that by clicking the link that's hanging over here. Type that in, and then join Discord. Go over to Cabin Chat. And Nick, you said something about the buddy system. What's our Discord for?
Yeah, we want to see you guys pair up and help each other out. And I think a lot of you were telling us about all the partners and the buddies that you hooked up with last time. So we just want to make sure everybody has one ready to go so you can do accountability, some great brainstorms together, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yep, check in. We are doing different challenges for you pretty much every week. And so this week is going to be an outdoor adventure. And then next week we'll be going into another merit badge. A lot of you earned that merit badge, and then we did have homework that we'll go over. But you also can put your portfolio in here, hang out, get connected. If you don't have a buddy yet for summer camp, just go ahead and let us know in Discord, and someone will meet up with you and become your buddy.
Thought you were going to do a Woody from Toy Story there. If you don't have a buddy, then get one.
Yes. Yes. And Nick, we of course have to go over our homework. It was one of my favorite homeworks we've ever given you. And
Yeah.
here, like I said, we do homework every week. Nick, what was our homework last week?
You had to make a creative playlist, something that would be kind of inspirational, fun, something to kind of like help spark creativity while you're working. And the best thing was I could not keep track of this. It was like every time I logged on, there were like 4 new ones. And I was like, I've saved a bunch of these to listen to later on. So this was a fun, really cool way to share this kind of stuff with just one click.
Yep.
That was great.
And I love this. I just remembered my original hype playlist that my Aunt Meg made for me when I was 7 or 8 years old. My dad found it and mailed it to me.
This
If you
is
ever lose your
amazing.
groove, this should help you get it back. And it's just
Oh,
like Wham,
look at
REM, Oh
Oh my
yeah.
God, Sting, the Seventh Wave. Doobie Brothers. Listen to the music. This is like, what a time capsule.
Yes,
This is
and so
great.
these aren't all just cassettes. I do love Bliss. Major points. I'm going to give you a merit badge for this one. You did it with your partner. You did it with your buddy. You
That's
both made
fantastic.
playlists, which is super fun. And Celeste, hello, welcome over from YouTube. And then you guys can all scroll through here, and there are just a bunch of playlists of pump up jams, stuff that our community loves. Ooh, we got some Lizzo in here. That's always a good start. I dropped mine in here that's pretty much show tunes and weird music. And Nick, I think you dropped yours up here as well, right?
Yes, we
There it
did. The
is.
Creative Jam playlist. You know what I love about this too is it's just like TV shows. You're always on the lookout for good new music or just music that might not be in your genre. So it's always good to catch from other people that you trust and see what kind of stuff everybody else is listening to.
Yep. And
So I'm already making unique kind of playlist from what I've found.
right?
Yeah.
I definitely, when I'm working, like, and there's a couple on my playlist of songs that are in different languages because I don't have
you
to pay
go.
attention to what they're saying. I can just listen to the beat and kind of tune out. So there's a couple on there that I think I have a Japanese rap,
Yes.
and then I have like a Korean hip hop.
Nice.
So check those out.
That's the one thing I did forget. One thing I did love what Steven wrote. He said something about he finds it very hard to work with music that he really does love, like his favorites. Like he
Yep.
made a great point there that sometimes you want to find some obscure different ones that are very different, and then they're more background because I think that's kind of a unique way to think about it. Or instrumentals or things like that that might be helpful in kind of making you work a little bit easier, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Let's go ahead and hop into what we
99
have.
99 Luft Balloons.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
99
gosh,
love
good
top
one. Greg.
balloons. That's a great one.
Which version? That would be great.
All
I
right,
love it.
we have so much to talk about today. We have hands-on stuff that I have here on my desk. Type is like my favorite thing in the whole world.
Yes.
And so I'm going to cover a lot of the kind of history leading up to a little bit of overview about like what type is, the technicalities of it. And then Nick's going to cover kind of the finding type, voice, the more of like the emotional side of type, I guess. And then next week, we are continuing our type camp. Nick, what are we doing next week?
Yeah, we're going to show you. I'm going to start it off by showing you guys what you could do now in Adobe Dimension with their type treatment and 3D type. It's kind of a game changer, and it's kind of a unique, fun way to explore what you could do in texture, in dimension, bevel, all that kind of stuff. And what are you doing?
Yep. So I will be doing a to be continued today. We are going to start on the process of making your own font and how to go about that.
Great.
So I will be helping you make your own font next week. And today we are going to cover all that, and then we'll get a little bit of a taste on it. And then next week we will be continuing type. So like we said, every 2 weeks we have a new topic for you, and there always is a merit badge and an outdoor adventure in there. And so, yes, the PDF is dropped in Discord. If you'd like to follow along, we are going to jump in, and I have the awesome transition slide. So it's time to get ready for our wilderness training.
Uh-oh. There must be a slide involved.
Boom. All right, we are here in our wilderness training screen. Wow, that was seamless. All right, so we're here in wilderness training, and I know that you guys love the hands-on stuff. I know you love the fun stuff, but we are getting like we're gonna sit down in a classroom for a little while, and I'm just gonna talk at you. And I'm gonna actually take a drink. Nick, do you know a lot of like design history stuff, or did you start with like technical stuff here and then go back into history?
As a teacher of graphic design, I can say I really don't know that much about this kind of particular subject matter. I think I studied it in art history,
Yep.
but was never really. I'm assuming just like most people, I did not listen as much as I probably should have.
Yep.
So this is going to be fun and educational for people like me as well.
Yeah, it's funny because we are visual communicators, and I think that we get stuck in like the end of it, and then we're like, wait a minute, visual communication's been around since like the dawn of time. Which I'll tell you that stat when I get to hieroglyphics. Chat, when I get to talking about hieroglyphics, remind me to tell you about a Cleopatra thing. All right. So let's start out petroglyphs. We're going all the way back to like, this is the earliest that we know. The time period is like who knows when to like 5,000-ish BC. And so petroglyphs are basically things that are cave paintings. They're painted on the walls. They would use iron oxide sometimes to incorporate different colors. But a lot of times you can go to like, I think like there's some in Utah, there's some in Arizona, and you can see them still there. And this is the way to tell stories, right? Instead of using letters, they were using recognizable objects. They were using symbols. They were using different pieces of visual communication to tell us these stories, right? That we can look at this picture and we understand, Nick, what's happening in this picture?
Well, I'm going to say it looks like it could be a bit of a rallying of some animals, and maybe are they ready to cook them? I don't know. What do you think?
It looks like there's some kind of maybe
Kinda.
they're hunting for dinner or something. That there's something on there. So it's something that this is
see a
probably
bow and
made.
arrow almost,
This
right?
was made
I see.
so long ago, and we can still understand the idea, right? So this is the beginning of visual communication, right? Beginning of typography.
I just love that. Can I even just like interject?
Yes.
You look at this too, and it's got its own sense of style, even though, you know what I mean? Like when you look at the top row and you look at that, they did it in a purposefully different way than the real thing, right? Like, I just love that there was some artistic value and in this zone. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
So cool. Cool.
And it's the beginning of like a system, right? That we have like our letter A, which we'll get to eventually. But if you look at those animals in the top, they're pretty much all the same symbol. And so it's like, cool, that is saying a story. Just like our letters do. So then we get in and we get a bit more abstract as we fast forward. This is something called cuneiform, and this would be used. It was basically like, it was kind of like a makeup brush. So I'll use the handle of the makeup brush. It was like this, but it was a triangle. And so they would use that triangle and push it into clay and then drag it. And different combinations meant different things. This was mostly used for bookkeeping, like tallying and figuring out like different trade things. Right? As people went through. So then from here, yada, 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 we get to hieroglyphics. So hieroglyphics are a combination of that cuneiform that we just saw and the petroglyphs that we saw before, right?
Yes.
That they're things that are recognizable, but then there's also weird symbols in here that we don't understand. And hieroglyphics it's just full dead language. But we can still pick out names and stuff. And the way that we would do that is this little like bullet that you see here, right? That has a little parentheses. So that's called a cartouche. And a cartouche is basically an idea. So just like we have a paragraph, that would be a paragraph, or it would be a person's name.
Almost a way to bundle or section off a particular thought or concept.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yep, totally.
Cool.
And so this is the way that you can pick out names, because the names still correspond to letters for those names for, each thing. And so I got to go to Egypt 2.5 years ago and had studied enough of hieroglyphics to be able to pick out like an alphabet and convert a little bit. And I was like, I just want to go to one place and see one artifact that I can pick out a name. And we went into like a tomb underneath a thing, and I was like, oh, is this like this guy's tomb? And our tour guide was like, what the heck? And I was like, oh my gosh, did I get it? And they're like, yes. And I was like, yes. That was so
You're like,
stoked.
I could go home now.
Right?
I love the way the birds and certain things are almost looks like they're captured in the stone, and the relief and the 3D you start to see in that it's not just detail, but it's actually considering, the surface area of these things.
Yep. And
incredible.
If you are ever wondering, if you're studying hieroglyphics and you're ever wondering how to read hieroglyphics, it's always from the way that you always read the way that the living things are facing. Right. Yes. So if there's birds, if there's animals, if they're facing to the right, then you read left to right. If they're facing to the left, then you read right to left. And if they're up and down, then you read that way or the other way. So whichever way the living things are facing, that's the way you read it. And yes, Mimi likes the little slugs. These little slugs, I believe, if someone wants to look it up, I think that the slugs are an R, and I think that this little jagged thing here is a W. Someone look that up and tell me I'm wrong, because I'm pretty sure I am. All right, continue on. So we get to hieroglyphics, and also here's a little knowledge for you. Cleopatra, right, the one that we always associate with like the pyramids in Egypt. Cleopatra lived closer to the invention of Snapchat than to the building of the pyramids. Crazy, right?
Yeah, there you go.
We wouldn't like mentally connect that, but the timeline is crazy when we get to ancient Egypt. It's just like forever. So out of ancient Egypt, there was a lot of trade that was happening out of the Egypt area, out of Phoenicia, and the Phoenicians started to develop their own way of communicating based on different things, right? So we have the camel over here, right? That looks like it has that hump. We have a house right here. And then we have this little ox that has the little horns. Yes. And this is like the transition to where we started to get to our alphabet, right? If you can notice, the Aleph, which is the ox, is basically an A. Beth is basically a B. So this is where we started to get some of our letters. And the reason that this caught on, okay, Nick, we'll see if you can connect the dots here. Mm-hmm. So the Phoenicians were like top tier business people. They were seafaring, so they would travel over the place. They would do all kinds of business. And so why do you think the Phoenician alphabet stuck around?
I would assume because of their influence.
Yes. So
I'll be here all day.
A plus, 100%. So basically, as the Phoenicians traveled, as you did business, if you wanted to do business with the big guns of the Phoenicians, you had to learn to communicate with the Phoenicians, and so you had to write in the Phoenician alphabet.
So it was almost their way or the highway.
Exactly. I mean, it's the same thing of, you know, if you want to save your messages and work on your computer, you have to be using iMessage. Like, it's the same thing. And it's like, hey, the big guns get to kind of dictate how things work.
Exactly.
The same thing with like emoji, right? If you're going to write a letter, you're not going to be able to use emoji. You have to do it digitally, and that's the only way to communicate.
Yeah. And it's incredible to see what this represented. It has just enough character to be different, but not enough that it's like it still feels like a uniform set.
Yep.
And it's just incredible to see, like, this is where the beginnings of the alphabet kind of really stem from.
Yep. And I love what you said at the beginning of the petroglyphs, that you can see the petroglyphs still carried over here. That you see like the ox, and it's not like hieroglyphics was like literally draw an ox. And here it's like, okay, a combination of those two, that it's abstract and simplified down to just a simple symbol.
Yeah. Amazing.
So from there, yada, 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 time passes. Eventually we get to the Latin alphabet. And I picked Blue's Clues because I'm like, you guys have all seen the alphabet a million times. And Blue's Clues has like the best alphabet song of all time.
Ever.
So yes, you can see the connections here between the Aleph, the A, the Beth. You can see Teth, which is our O, Sin, which is our W. So you can see that those carry over. It just took a long time for us to get there, but eventually we landed, and that's the alphabet that we use now.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Which a lot of you around the world use different alphabets. So if you use a different alphabet, let us know. If you're using a Hebrew alphabet, somebody noticed there. If you're using Greek, there are a bunch of fun alphabets that kind of happened between those two as well.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got for history. No, it's not. Actually, yeah, that is all I have for history. Nick's gonna take over a different type, but I want to cover the different kinds of type. Nick, do you want to cover the first few, and then I'll get into kind of the details of the rest?
Yeah, I think the first we got here is the serifed font. And again, obviously here showing off the serifs off of each edge, kind of has its own emotion, has its own kind of authority. There's certain things we all look at these and go like, that's the reason you would choose a serif font, right? Maybe a little more trusting, a little more elegant. Sans serif becomes a little bit more efficient, maybe a little bit more everyday, I think is a great way to say it. And then slab serif is that kind of in between where it takes the characteristics of what we love about serif, but it gives it sometimes in a uniform line weight, and it creates a whole other thing. This is authority. This is like impact, right? There's so many different things you can think of when you go into slab serif. What's next?
A little note on the slab serif. I had hit my kill switch because I was drinking. A little note on the slab serif. It's also called, referenced as Egyptian type, which has nothing to do with Egypt. It's just like a name that came about as it was being invented. And specifically, the transition between these two is when serifs got kind of oversaturated, and then sans serifs started to get oversaturated. Then we started to get into these other ones. Yes.
They fused together.
Yes. That we get the slab serif, which is, you can see that in a lot of circus posters. Right? That like giant type that people wanted to get attention because they were bored of just the regular serif type. And then we start getting things like fat face type, which is my favorite thing in the world. Fat face is basically like a Bodoni. So it has a super thin horizontal and then a super thick vertical.
Yes.
I love fat face. And then we get to Tuscan. So Tuscan is what happened when all of these were like, we're done with these. We need to do something that's like all of them at the same time.
Yes,
and so
more is more.
yes, I have a book back here that's Tuscan and ornamental typefaces. That's just pure insanity. So if you
I
ever
can
want to
only
have fun,
imagine.
look up Tuscan typefaces, and it's just all like Bleeding Cowboy would be like the modern day Tuscan.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's kill Bleeding Cowboy,
Right.
please.
So we have our basis. Let's go ahead and hop into analyzation, kind of the more emotional side of type, because right, type's like an emotional thing.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the first things we've asked so many people talking about portfolios and looking at student work, looking at young professionals' work. Sometimes the first thing people tell us is typography is kind of that one thing that everyone can use a little bit of maybe some polishing on. And I think, again, you never stop learning with this stuff, right? Typography skills, how you choose them, what you do with them, always, like I'm learning this every day constantly. And thankfully we have so many great resources to pull from. And I wanted to start with this slide because just as much as we have this here, if you see summer camp in the font we've chose here for our little series here of this particular season, I'd love you guys to drop in chat. What does this font say to you? Tell me emotionally, what does it say? Kind of what does it kind of translate to? And then I'm going to show you some of the reasons we picked it as our font for summer camp. But I'd love to see what you guys think. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I love that, like, before we get into all the things, definitely go put your stuff in chat. I love that, like, as you guys are thinking about this, look at, like, the badges that are in the corner. Like, it says the same thing, right? We're communicating summer camp on both of those, but they're very, very different. And the same thing with, like, the way that we have our badges when we start the show, and even the stuff that's around us right now, but then we go into our break slides that have the outdoor adventure on it, and it's just a whole different thing.
Yeah, I love what people are saying. So we got playful, energetic, in motion, lively, friendly. I think, obviously, too, like, if you think about it, you start to write down what is the context of what this brand's going to be or this title should be. Fun, exactly. Let's get to the next slide and we'll see what we kind of chose it for. And it has a lot of great characteristics here, but mostly it's very juvenile, right? It has that young kind of vibe to it. There's something kind of, but it's not totally kids, like let's say Blue's Clues was, right?
Yep.
Okay, so it has this kind of zone in between. Very kid friendly. I like the randomness of it. I think that tells you a little bit too. Like it's a little unpredictable. It goes thick, it goes thin. Certain things look like it's a little bit off the angle. There's just enough character in there to give you some personality and some emotion without being like unreadable. I think that's the number one thing you got to make sure you're kind of keeping track of. It's got a very optimistic vibe too, and it has this hand painted feel where imagine if this was something was painted at summer camp or on a sign, right?
Yep.
Those are the things that I really love about this one.
That's like the number one thing that every time I use this, I'm like, it just feels so like painterly. Like some kid made this during arts and crafts time on a piece of wood, and it just like feels so right.
Oh, when we discovered it, I just remember going like, oh my God, like I don't even have to you can just see it in black without any effect. And you're like, yes,
that's it.
Totally hit the vibe of what we were talking about.
Yep.
So the next slide here, in choosing the right font for whatever particular project you're working on, here's a few things to look at. Look at the project at hand. What is the creative brief telling you, right?
That was me looking at the project at hand. Sorry.
Exactly. Project at hand. I was like, is he giving me some sign? Am I going too fast? Usually my typical thing is slow down.
Oh gosh. Yep, no, you're good. I'm just out of control.
Here's one thing I do. When I give a creative brief to my students, I hide those keywords in there, hoping that they're going to find, just like we saw on the previous slide, optimistic, random, super fun, whatever those could be. So when you're looking at the creative brief that you or the client or maybe your job have created, pull out those keywords that are telling you how the consumer should feel, and you make that list, right? And that's what you're going to start looking for. Also, think about the objective. What are the goals of this thing? Is it to catch someone's attention and stop them in their tracks? If it is, what's one of the most important things that font's got to be in that situation, Andrew? Any idea?
Thick,
and
that's what I think. Big,
not Tuscan. So you know what I mean? Like not
unless we're like promoting a carnival.
It should be easy to read
as
well, right? You still want to make sure it's legible. So think of the objective. Where is this going to live and everything? And this third point is, what is the medium? Where is this going to be? Is this going to be online? Does this need to be printed? Will it be on packaging? Will it be on TV? Will it be on billboards? So all these things are kind of the how you qualify what a font should be like for your project. Anything else that you think we're missing here? What else would you start looking about?
I think I always think about what is the end product use, right?
Yes.
So there's typography that is specifically made that if it's printed small, there's something called an ink trap. And instead of an N being like this,
Yes.
an N will be like this. And so it will have a little bit of an extra kind of cutout so that it has, when it's printed small, the ink will bleed over and basically connect that line for itself. So if you're thinking
Very
about
cool.
it, how is it going to be printed in the end, right? Am I going to be using fluorescent inks? Because that
Yes.
may change the size that I want it or the density, right? Maybe I'm going to do it at 50% density because the ink is going to be so bright. So I always think about what is the final product, and that helps me say, okay, between these two options that have the same emotions, this one serves the end product better.
Yes, I love
Hey,
that idea.
Ashram, welcome to the show.
This is, yeah, there's so many different things you could do to really help qualify what fonts could be workable for that particular project. I want to show you a great example on this next slide.
I
And I
love
think
it.
everyone's seen this. And to be honest with you too, I was a little bit like, oh, okay, great. We've put water in a can, but we've made it look like craft beer. I heard a great story from someone the other day in a meeting that they were saying what they thought of on this one. And you have to go to liquiddeath.com and read their About Us page, guys. If you want to get a really good kind of like brief history on who they are and why they chose this look and this font and everything about it, their whole idea was there was that person that always maybe was at a party and only drinking water and didn't feel like they were part of the party, having a plastic bottle of water. This way they got to feel like they were part of the party. They had this really great, like cool looking thing. No one else knows what it is. It looks so rebellious. But more importantly, what I love about this is when we ask, does it match the objective of the brand? Here's what they said on their site. We strive to be unnecessary in everything we do. All right, because unnecessary things tend to be far more interesting, fun, and hilarious, captivating, memorable, exciting, and cult-worthy rather than just the necessity things, right?
Yep.
The necessary ones. So this idea, they're already telling you it has to be rebellious. It's got to be a little bit cult worthy, right? They're going to call it liquid death. Like, what a perfect way to just do something of this typography and just let it sing without anything else around it, right?
Yep. Absolutely. And like, this is 100% like, I'm the guy. I usually, like, if I go to the bar, I'll get like a drink and a water bottle.
Yes.
And then I'm like, just leave the glass because I'm going to use it as a prop for like the rest
Yes.
of the night. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm having a drink. And this is 100% like, oh yeah, like looks like a beer. It's making all those references. And then the type is going back to, again, that cultishness. If you're
Yes.
looking for type like this on Adobe fonts, there is a font called Sabbath, and Sabbath is this kind of zone. So
And they've been adding a lot to there. This other thing that they said here, we started Liquid Death with the totally evil plan to make people laugh and get them to drink more water more often. So this idea too that they're saying this evil plan and everything about them. These are those things you could pull from creative briefs, and almost like it tells you what kind of font to use by this kind of stuff. It's like a cheat sheet. You know what I mean?
Yep. Do you
Great.
remember, this is such a side thing, man.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Hulu, when Hulu first came out, their
Yes.
slogan was an evil plan to destroy the world.
Exactly.
Like that was like and when I was like,
Yeah.
that's so weird. And Liquid Death is the same thing. That it's like, it's just marketing to like, for the sake of marketing.
yeah.
All right.
That's
Personality test.
Yeah, so again, you can obviously, if you've built that kind of like list from your creative brief or even just your own knowledge of what you're trying to do, these are great examples of what you could be looking for. Is it an elegant font, right? Is it playful? Is it polished? Is it quirky? So all of these things can be found by looking and searching and doing your research. I keep, I'm sure you're the same way. I keep a lot of different textbooks that they typically are the ones that are always on my desk and not in the bookshelf. Are those ones to look for and find great fonts that reflect emotion. I think that's the number one thing to kind of say is don't just say playful, don't just say fun, right? Go a little bit deeper and be like, what in particular should this really, really say? And, some of these have some really great ones on there as well. Efficient. What if a brand needs to be super efficient and that was their whole goal is to be something like that? You don't want the most complicated kind of overpowering font. You want something super efficient, does the job, super clean. And it might be it might sound a little like your subconscious thing looking at and everything, but that's exactly how we make decisions. right?
Yep. And it's something
buying.
like, I'm pretty sure that we're all familiar with Gotham, but having something be efficient, right? You're like, oh, sans serif, super clean, let's use Gotham. But thinking about it, it's like Gotham feels maybe too heavy, too sturdy than being efficient, right? That there's too much extra line. That it's that thing that you immediately think of. It's like, oh, it is very specific to what it should be to get a very specific emotion, a very specific trait.
Exactly. Go ahead, bro.
I always turn like when I'm picking type, I always turn it into a person. Then I'm like, who is the character? And then typing out like a script or taking, a scene from a movie and then dropping it into that font and being like, cool, does this person fit in this? Are they having tea at Downton Abbey, or are they like jumping off a building and like yelling for help? Like who is the person?
Yeah. And this little side note here on the right tells you a little bit, gives you the starting points of where emotion and fonts kind of lead in. So this sans serif, it means sensible, it means simple, it means straightforward. When you use a display font, you're being a little more loud, maybe a little more amusing, friendly. So they start to give you, now you even know what direction to look for. If you've got to be really chic and really stylish, maybe this modern one might work. Maybe that might be better than any kind of script that we use, right? So they're all there.
Sorry, they were floating close enough to point. I love when things just happen to be on the screen that I can point at them. It's my favorite thing.
Right there.
All right, so let's talk about this graphic here, right? That is breaking down the different emotions. And this is combining what we talked about of different kinds of type with the different kind of traits.
Yes. So this is a great one. I keep this one. Thankfully, with these PDFs, these are great things to refer back to and look at, right? So when you do look at these things, any of these things that you need to be, if you need to be progressive, you can see what that modern font's going to do. If you need to be elegant or affectionate or that creativity vibe that you're trying to do, a script could really work as well. But these pull back in and you can see that feelings, emotions, and associations are kind of common amongst most of us. There are those ones we can look at and say, this will really help that vibe if we need to stay in a very respectable, reliable font. That's our company. We know a serif font's can work. So all I'm trying to think here is maybe looking at a bucket rather than, I haven't decided the actual font just yet, but at least I know what kind of spot to look at and start thinking,
Yep, and the great thing is we're going to try to hop into Adobe Fonts. You can filter those. You can filter through.
We're going to show you a little bit
all of these things. So we're going to try to show you some of that. And again, same thing here that we have kind of the grid, and this is less on kind of the practical and more on the like cultural, I guess here.
Yeah, because again, I like to show this to a client and ask them and say where do we think this brand falls, right? Or this company or with this logo or the type choices we're going to use. You have the opposite ends of the spectrum here. Everything from serious to whimsical going vertical. And then you have heritage, meaning old, antique, vintage, to contemporary, new on the far right. So what this is not only is this a great thing to kind of get a decision and an agreement with the person you're working with who's not the creative to kind of commit to something, but now you know what kind of font you're going to be looking for too. If I'm going in that serious contemporary thing, I know exactly what I'm going to start looking for, right? It's not going to probably be serif. It will probably be sans serif. But again, I want it to look a little modern. And maybe a little bit, those ones that have just a slight little serif at the tip to kind of make it feel a little bit more sophisticated. That might be a good one.
Yeah, I feel like we need a new name for the super, super sharp sans serif with a serif. Because it is a trend that's it's not quite a serif, but it's just enough to have something there.
They're hybrids. I think that's the best way to kind of describe them, because they're taking the best of both families or both worlds there, and kind of it's a 2-for-1 in a lot of ways, right? So this next slide, these are some really great resources as well. You look at Adobe Fonts right now, and what I love about this is this tells me and every other educator that we could tell our students there is no excuse for not having a good font anymore, because you have access to all of this in Adobe Fonts. On the left here is a fantastic little breakdown. That's on every time you load up browsing Adobe Fonts. You will get this right here. And this keeps growing. I've been noticing when it comes to around Halloween time, there was one in there called Spooky, right?
Yep.
So they add a lot of these based on the seasons as well. But look at where you can start with. I can go to funky, I can go to art deco, I can go to college, I can go to even shaded. If you got to do something in that zone. But even better, if you go up to the top there where it says font picks, Our font packs, do you
Yep.
see that? Hit the font packs right up at top, and you'll see they are giving you not only a font to look at and be like, if I'm doing poster design or if I'm doing something retro vintage inspired, not only am I getting one font, but I'm getting a collection of fonts to go together and really, really work great on your project. I love this. I've used it multiple times when I needed something super quick for like social media or something. And I was like, you know, I need something like it's very kind of like look at that one you just clicked on right now.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Make beautiful work, new fonts, like beautifully done, already curated for you. And sometimes I might just find 2 or 3 that I like and go like, that's perfect. That font pairing, we're going to talk a little bit about in the next few slides. But again, these are, do you use this as well? Are you?
Oh yeah, I use it all the time. And the greatest thing about all these is at the bottom, there's this button that just says activate all fonts.
Exactly.
If you click that, it just like syncs everything. And then you're like, cool, I'm good to go. Like, this is what I need to do.
It's so great. I mean, if you go flashback 5 years ago when we didn't have this, you'd be like, this would be your dream scenario as a designer.
Yep.
Not only to just have, but to be tied into your applications across every platform. So I love it when I upload something and then you fire up another computer, and as long as you're logged in Creative Cloud, boom, there it is.
Yeah,
so,
I don't really have to pick like type anymore. I don't have to pick colors anymore. Like Adobe just does that. It leverages the power of the community to like give you good suggestions, and then you can build off of that.
Yeah, because we did we saw a lot of the color stuff a few episodes ago, where you go into there and you can explore based on whatever topic you want to look for, and you can find it. So it's the same with fonts.
And Katarina asking, why don't I have categories when I go to Adobe Fonts? If you land on the home page, it's actually different. You need to click on Browse Fonts up in the corner.
Correct. And that'll take you to a web browser rather than the Creative Cloud app.
Yep.
Right?
You also can check and sync straight from Illustrator, which I'll show you next week. But you can do the filters. You can do everything that is on Adobe Fonts directly in Illustrator, Photoshop, whatever you want.
And we've been experiencing this in the best way, because if I send something off to Andrew to kind of continue on, I don't even have to like say, oh, by the way, here's a link to download, or send him the actual font. When it's all in Adobe Fonts, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's magic.
This next one, here's another great tip. Always choose the font that has a rich family behind it. And by family, it's not just what you see here, where you see thick, thin, regular, medium, bold, extra bold, black, and all that stuff, right? Then slanted or italic too. But some of these are actually getting, you might have a poster version of one. You might even have one that shows a kind of a serif and then a script with it. And they're part of the same family. It's kind of this instant way that they're going to work well together.
Oh yeah, you don't have to look for pairings. You're just like, here they are.
Yes, yeah. And if you struggle with hierarchy, and you've been hearing maybe in some of your design work that you can really fine tune some hierarchy a little bit, like look at this thicker font here, the thicker 40 over there.
Thick.
That would be a great one to start with, because you have your instant headline, you have your instant subhead, you have your body text, you can use the slant for maybe a quote. And all of a sudden now the blending of this is so great, because the work's done for you basically, right?
Yep.
It's really
and there's some great questions happening in chat. The big one that I want to talk to you about is, does Office Hours have creative challenges? Yes. We give you homework every week. So every week we give you either an outdoor adventure or a merit badge challenge. And that will be for the entirety of this summer camp. We're going all the way to the end of the summer, and each week we will have an activity for you to do. And Nick, as we assign that activity, there's a very special place that we want people to put that. Where are they putting that?
That's in our homework channel in the Discord. Make sure you're in there as well.
Yeah.
I think that Discord channel is just going to be a plethora of great resources over time, because it's so much good stuff when you go back a little bit and see what everybody's posted.
Yep. So last week our challenge, if you weren't here at the beginning of the show, was to make a playlist to help you work. This week it will be an outdoor adventure, so we'll be getting you actually away from your computers this week, which will be fun. And then next week we will have a merit badge challenge, where we will be either building something in 3D type and dimension, or we will be making our own font. So I know that's the one that everyone always asks for, so that will be our homework next week. But let's keep going here, Nick. We want to talk about pairing fonts together.
Yeah, so pairing is another skill that I think we all can get some sharpening on and kind of use a little bit more. Some tips that you might want to start with: using font families for added variety. Just like I had mentioned in the slide prior, if you get a family of these fonts together, you will find that they instantly work together. And some of them do have that wide variety of script, bold, everything. And that's an instant way of just being a font pairing expert.
Yep.
You can also balance them by similar features and differences as well. So a lot of times if you find something that has a unique swoosh or a curl to it or something like that, and there's another font that does the same thing. So those similarities and differences are pretty kind of cool. They kind of are unique ways to mesh and have them work together.
Yep.
Okay?
And Nick, are there any people or links that we could find from one of our moderators to drop in that people could follow to get a new one of these every Tuesday?
Oh, yes. So if you guys want to, one of our buddies, Matt Dawson, he has, he's Stay Gray Pony Boy on Instagram, and he has, you can do it by a search of his hashtag. It's Type Combo Tuesdays. And what he's done is he has just taken 2 random fonts and shown how they work together. And he puts these beautiful, these are 3 of the examples right here, just to show you how this might work. And if you look at like that new Jack with Sweet Gothic, there's a really cool, they're totally different fonts, but there's something about each one. It has a chiseled, thick and thin. There's those similarities that are working there, like our tip, and it really, really works. And then you can look at the Hercules and the Futura Bold. They are totally different as well, but for some weird reason, maybe it's just the fact that they have a chunkiness and they feel strong, but there's a collaboration between them somehow working. I love that one. And then, so definitely take a look at his stuff. It's some great stuff.
Yep, and we missed talking about it, but black letter is also a kind of type, and that's what's happening on the Liquid Death as well as that New Jack right there.
New Jack, exactly.
And what I usually look for in pairings is a similarity with a difference, right? That it's either the same height but a different width, or it's a different width but the same height. Or it's like you said, the chunkiness, that it's like, cool, they have completely different line weights, but the chunkiness is the same. And so if you can find something to contrast that makes it interesting, but something that's relatable as well, that's a really great way to start out with pairings.
Yeah. These last 2 tips are super important too. Slightly similar fonts, not always the best idea. I've always seen some people putting things together and they're so close in style, but they are 2 totally different fonts. That doesn't make sense. Just use the one. It doesn't really make sense in some way. And opposites attract as well. The most 180 font together will be an amazing try. Give it a shot.
Absolutely.
Super fun.
Yep.
Super fun.
And Kenji, downloading Discord right now. Am I the only one without Discord?
Hopefully
not. Hopefully there's all kinds of people that don't have Discord that are going to get it right now. You also can join our Discord in the browser as well. You can download the app or it will open in the browser. I believe. I might have just lied to you. All right, Nick, how do we choose the wrong font?
The wrong font.
How do we choose the wrong font, Nick? Oh, just take it away, Nick. I'm just gonna let you just go for this.
These are some pro tips. These are fun ones that you guys can look at. I asked a bunch of folks back when we were doing something for the podcast a few months ago. I love these, just considering the history and the culture and the personality of what you're trying to represent. You know, archetypes work great for this as well. I love this one. Strike a balance between appropriate and surprising and take a risk. This is your chance before you show anybody this stuff to just experiment, right? Like try some different things out. Then you can always show additional people, show folks and be like, does this work? Show your buddy, show one of us. We'd love to see what you guys put together. But again, these are things that we will always consistently get better and better at working on.
Yep, you can always drop it in Discord.
Yes, there you go. You get a whole audience of people ready to kind of help you out.
Yep. And if you guys want this, if we're talking really fast, which we are today, and going through stuff, this is posted in the Discord. I believe it is in the summer camp channel. So you can go back and reference this. I try to post it every week so that you can kind of just track along. Because summer camp's been pretty dense so far.
It has been, man. This is no easy summer vacation, is it?
Oh no, this is we're ready to camp. Summer camp.
I love it. Yes, exactly.
All right.
We have resources here as well. All of these are great ones to look at, guys. Basically, we got 2 or 3 different great ones. Wordmark.it. Have you seen that one? Have you used it?
I haven't.
Guys, do this on your web browser right now. Go to wordmark.it, put in a phrase, click it, and it will preview that font in every font you have loaded on your computer.
Okay, that's really cool because to be able to just be like, boom.
Let's not like, ruin the internet right now, but like,
Right,
or
yeah.
work.it. But check it out. It will show you, especially if you can't remember that font you loaded, and you're like, I don't remember the name of it. Do this, and you'll see everything that is loaded on your font.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So great resources. I'm going to talk about this next week just because we're running short on time. I'm going to talk about like all the technicalities, but I do want to get you thinking about something for next week. So we're going to get into building some custom type. And what I want you to do is don't be scared because you only need to think about these 6 letters. Okay. So as we're thinking about going into next week about making our own font, right? Just think about H, O, A, R, K, and S. So what we're doing basically here is we're getting a square or rectangular shape, a circular shape, and a triangle shape. With those 3, we can make pretty much whatever we want. The reason that the R, K, and S are there is I think that's where you have the most character in your fonts, is the R, K, and the S. So that's where you can put the fun little touches, the extra little bits, and then it's really easy to build the rest. So on the next slide here, you have the H and the O, right? The square and the circle makes the D, the G, the M. A and V is X, W, Y. D and R makes a B and a K. 2 O's could technically make an S if you want to. So we're just going to focus on building those first 3 letters next week, and then we'll show you how to combine them, how to remix them into making your own full font. Nick, what else are we doing next week?
We're doing a little dimension work.
Yes.
Yes.
It's going to be
Can't
so
wait.
much fun.
Who knew Dimension did type? Come on.
I know, right? So we like to do something else here on Office Hours every week, and that is highlight... Oh, what button is it? Oh, boy. No, got it. Highlight a star camper. All right, so our star camper this week, Nick, who is it?
We are starting with Katarina.
That's right. Katarina Jovanovic, who is in chat. Hi, Katarina. Welcome.
I'll let you handle the last name just in case.
I went for it.
I was like, I butcher it.
Welcome. Congratulations. You are our star camper this week. You posted your portfolio last week in our Discord, and you were featured as our star camper this week. Nick, do we want to pick out one project here for us to look at?
Ooh, let's see. What do you want to go with?
Oh, I know what I want to go.
Where I'm gonna go.
Where are you gonna go? Because you go.
I was gonna hit one of the packaging, but if you tell me.
No, let's do one of the packaging ones. But also here is April Showers versus Mayflowers. This is the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge that I taught.
Let's take a look.
So I'm quite partial to that. These are fantastic. These are so fun.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys haven't done the Daily Creative Challenges, they happen every day. I believe the Illustrator is at 11:30 p.m. Pacific or 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every day. I'll be back at the end of next month to do another set. I think we may be doing like a transportation theme, which would be fun. But great job on these. Let's look real quick at one of the packaging ones. Nick, which one do you want to look at?
Oh, let's cancel out of here. Let's do Unity.
Let's do it.
Ooh, okay.
What are your thoughts?
I like it. You know what's neat? I'm glad we clicked on this challenge first, because now when I look at this, I'm seeing almost elements of what she creates and everything, and this pattern, the rich patterns and the unique things in the background, almost like it feels influenced by that. And I love seeing those different things in there. I love that she's made some ads, which is kind of cool down below. That's the first thing we always kind of ask for as well. Really nice job. I would love to see maybe 2 or 3 versions. You got 2 versions. That's cool. So you have, let's see, Trinity, and you have, okay, cool. So yeah, there's definitely a unique thing here. You got 3 different vibes. What do you think, man?
I love it. I love the packaging of having the Unity, like the way that you've done the packaging is really, really cool.
Yes.
Especially with the different names.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see these ads like on magazines, like a mock-up, but like that doesn't really bug me that much. And then I'd move that description to the top of this one.
Yes,
but
correct.
The work is awesome, and these mock-ups are fantastic.
Really nice, really nice.
All right, we have one more star camper that we want to look at, and then we will assign the homework. We've got about 3 minutes to take a look at this, so we got to bake. So our next star camper, Nick, is...
This is Eli Samba.
Eli Samba, congratulations,
yes.
Eli. Let's take a look at the elbow grease, because I think that's just going to be a good one to look at.
Ooh, love that. That's really cool.
Okay.
Wow. Great. Oh, this third image with the perspective of the cans. Like, so guys, if you have something this simple and you're trying to find a way to make it more impactful, look at the dimension and the perspective of that one. That
Yep.
is killer. This is great. Guys, inspiration. Love seeing where this started from. Oh, this is fantastic. Look at the little brainstorm sketch here.
Nick and I love this case study.
Just stop, dude. Okay, yeah, mood board. Oh, and the sketching is fantastic. Oh my God, this is just wonderful. Eli, this is great, dude. Like,
This is great.
this
And I
is
and I
so
love that you
wonderful.
end with like it's not the big wow. It's like, cool, I walked you through the whole process and then here's where you landed, right? That this is what we want is we want that big boom at the beginning, then walk us through your thought process, and then at the end it's like, cool, here's this thing you've seen. Now you know
Yes.
how I got there.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the
A bit
perspective
more,
of this stuff is
a
awesome.
bit more copy scattered throughout, telling us a little bit more about this process. You have all the visuals down. I would just give us a few more things saying like what was the goal of the brainstorm, and then like maybe some of the hardships of going through the sketching. Was it hard to get this character? It looks like you started somewhere and then took a total different departure, which was good. Love to hear about that.
Yep. So your homework this week, let's get to our outdoor adventure. Our outdoor adventure this week is for you to get out. Go outside, leave your house, go out somewhere, take your phone, and find some type. Find any kind of type. Nick is looking for type on his desk. Where are those signs
go.
at? Yes,
There we go.
I've got type up here. I have type over here. There's type over there. Some back there. So go out and find some type around, and then post that picture of whatever type you found, and maybe post what it made you feel, what kind of emotions you associated with it. If it's a restaurant, like what kind of food you think that they serve, all that kind of fun stuff. Nick, I know that you every time you travel, you always just have pictures from things.
Yes, like I even just took a picture of his creative packaging there. You could do it in Capture as well. Don't forget, you don't have to take it in Capture. You can pull from your library. So just get your camera roll, go out. If you see interesting type, go for texture, go for uniqueness, go for things that are maybe a little bit off the beaten path. That's the cool stuff, right?
Yep, that's the cool stuff. Is we want to see. So like I'm going to LA. What day is today? I'm going to LA on Monday. And so that's right. This show that's always on Fridays. On Monday, I'm going to LA, and I love walking around LA because there's always just old stuff or things that like somebody used to own this building and they just like painted an ad on the side and it's just like half painted over. I love seeing that stuff. And so go out and explore. And if people are saying that it's hot, yes, it is so hot. So be responsible, wear sunscreen, get your big like camp hat.
Yes,
exactly. Or go out in the morning or go out at night and try to take a picture. And if you can't do that, the thing that you can do is look through your camera roll, because I'm sure that you've been out and you've seen some type that's been awesome and you've taken pictures in your camera roll. I'm sure, Nick, your camera roll is probably full of that, right?
It's kind of too much. Yeah.
Yep.
Bingo.
I think I literally
love
posted one
that.
the other day. I went to go visit the USS Midway, which is an aircraft carrier. And I got super inspired by the typography of like control systems. So I started looking at like aviation typography.
Love that stuff.
Because it's very specific, because it needs to be like super readable, and like style is not an option, but then it's also like immense amounts of different type. And so it's really interesting to see how they balance all of that.
It's almost like the beginning of UI UX.
Yep. And yes, I am wearing my last email hat. This was specifically because we're talking about type and I wanted something with some type on it. So the camp hat took a break today for a hat with type on it.
That is my number one phrase every time, every week in email.
My last email, yes. So, Nick, once people are done with their homework, where are they going to post it?
Please post it on our Discord in the homework channel. We'll be chiming in as well. I can't wait to see what kind of stuff comes out of it, because this is going to be great input for designing a font, right? All this great stuff that we're going to see.
Yep, and I will be breaking down next week, like literally showing you from scratch, here's how you build a font. It'll probably be a basic one, and maybe I'll give it to you guys. If we end up like getting through enough to where I can give you like a display font that's all the capitals or something, I'll upload that and get it all done with the diacritics. We won't be going into the specifics of like the spacings and making it actually typable. I'm going to do that on the back end, but I am going to give you resources to get there. Because that's like another 6 lessons. That
And it's it used to be so expensive. Now it's super affordable to do that. That's great.
Yep. And if you're thinking that designing a typeface is like, oh, it's all in Illustrator and making the letters, that's like 20%. Like 80% is the spacings, the pairings, the like technicality. So maybe eventually I'll teach you guys how to do that, but it is dense. And someone's asking, how do I get into the Discord? Nick, how do they get into the Discord?
The link is right here on your screen. There it is.
There it is.
Join us there.
Right down there. And someone just said in Discord, I intended on going today, but then I fell asleep waiting. Well, welcome to the show. Hello. Welcome. We're here. We're live. Which you can always watch these replays. They are available. You can go to behance.net/live/students. And that will filter, I think that it's all the draw alongs with Cal T Webster, as well as all of the episodes of Office Hours. We're just over a year. Probably 60 episodes. I think we need to count.
Oh my God.
I know we need to look at the count because we need to get ready for 100 episodes.
Can you imagine? I can't.
This show's like The Simpsons, but with real people.
And without the I was going to say something else.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us this week. Make sure you go and do the homework, post it in the Discord, and we will see you next week as we continue on with type. We will have a merit badge for you to earn next week, and it will be live in Discord for you to get next week at the end of the challenge. So we'll see you there. Wonderful. Nick, any closing words?
See you next week.
Love it. All right, bye.